Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the KONTAINEROZ podcast. The podcast is sponsored by PortPro, the leading operating system for drayage carriers. Schedule a demo today at portpro.io. In the studio today, I have Anais Jimenez. She's the owner of Danais Insurance Services.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, let's just get right into it.
Okay.
A little bit about yourself.
So I've been in the insurance industry for about over 11 years now. I started off as an underwriter for a umbrella insurance company. So I didn't really deal with a whole lot of face-to-face people. It was just more dealing with emails and random phone calls from other agents. Did that for 10 years, and then I found an opportunity to be face-to-face with clients. That's my thing. And so I went over to this agency. That's where I learned the trucking industry, and I fell in love. And then I was there for a year and a half, and I was like, you know what? I gotta do my own thing. I gotta help, these truckers out and make sure that they're not being taken advantage of, that they're being educated properly with, their permits, their insurance, and everything that they need. So I was like, boom, Danais Insurance was born.
Did you see a lot of people getting taken advantage of? Is that why you say that?
Not necessarily from where I was at. I wouldn't say that, but in general, because we would have clients come and let us know what's going on with this other agencies and things like that. And I try to right now, especially with my own thing, I try to stick to what I know. You know what I mean? If a client comes and tries to bash another agency, I don't really want to hear that. You know what I mean? Because it's all perspective. So while he might have had a bad experience with that agent, it may have been some sort of miscommunication or something like that. So I take everything with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, it's just hearing those stories and things like that. Oh, this is falling off. Hearing those stories kind of made me want to do something where I know that I have full control of that, and that my clients will never be able to say that, that they felt that they were taken advantage of. So that's really big for me. Even my new employee, Ruth, I tell her the same thing. Make sure that our clients are taken care of, that, they feel like they're family, because that's what we are. We end up becoming a huge family, and that's what I love. So.
And that's how you ended up in the industry, that little journey?
Yeah, that little journey. It kind of went from the back end of the world of the insurance industry to being the front man, and then now having my own thing where I'm, going to start hiring more people and things like that, and growing bigger. So that's the goal.
What's your least favorite job before you did this?
God, working at McDonald's was the worst. But that was my second longest job.
What did you do there?
So when I left, I was a manager, the store manager, or not the store manager, one of the managers, the shift manager. But it was just a lot of pressure, and being in the insurance industry, there's pressure there too, but it's a different kind of pressure. People are just not, I don't know, it's food, people get so angry over food.
Oh yeah.
I had, my first day on the job ever at working at McDonald's, I was 16, and I was working the drive-through, literally my first day on the job, okay? And it was the hottest day of the summer, and
your freaking machine wasn't working.
Dude, yeah, it was the ice machine that wasn't working, okay? The ice machine wasn't working, and I don't know what happened where the person taking the orders didn't tell that person that was at the window. So I handed him the drinks, and mind you, this was a grown-ass man. Can I say bad words on here? Okay. This is a grown-ass man, and I'm over here.
Can I cuss?
And I'm 16 years old, and this fool chucks all of the sodas at me. I'm drenched in soda, okay? Like, I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, I didn't know what to do. So I start crying. I'm an emotional person as it is. So, like, I was assaulted, by this grown man. And I looked over and he had like a little 8-year-old kid with him. And I'm like, dude, this is what you're showing your son? Like, what the heck? So I went to the side, and like, it was like the lunch hour. So it was really busy. It was packed. So everybody saw. So, in addition to that embarrassment, now you have the embarrassment of like people looking at you, and be like, what the heck did she do, to deserve that?
Yeah.
And so I remember my manager at the time, he stepped in, he kicked the guy out, and the guy was like, well, where's my money? And he was like, dude, forget your money, dude. You just assaulted somebody. Get the hell out of here. So the guy took off or whatever. And I've never been a quitter. I could have quit that day, but I didn't. I came back. And then
with a raincoat this time.
Yeah, right. No, and then the guy came back like I think like a week or two later to apologize to me. I was like, okay, well that right there takes a lot of balls to be able to come back into an establishment and publicly apologize to somebody. So I took the apology. I was the adult in the situation, I guess you could say. So, and like, but I will say this, that even though working at McDonald's was like one of the worst jobs I ever had, it did teach me a lot about customer service and how to treat the client, how not to treat the client, how to make people feel welcome in your establishment. So I will say that.
All right. Would you say the customer is always right? Or how do you feel about that phrase? No?
Hell no, they're not always right. But you have to make them feel like they are right in a sense. You know what I mean? Like you have to like not manipulate them, but just kind of like make them understand like your side in a way that it's not gonna make them feel like you're attacking them. So they can kind of open up their mind and be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I was wrong, dude. Like here, this you're right. Let me hear what you have to say. So.
Yeah, like customer service jobs are always like at risk at reviews, like what they say about them. But what I find interesting is like out of like 10 experiences, like they could have 9 good ones, but that one bad one, they'll tell the world.
Oh, yeah.
But the other 9, it's very rare that they go out of their way to say it was good for them.
Right.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, I don't know. People, I think it's just, and this goes with social media too, like, and the news media too, is like the negativity is what spreads, that's like what gets everybody like into whatever it is that they're looking at. Yeah. And I've had this discussion with other people before too. They're like, oh, pero, so-and-so was doing good, with this one. Oh, but do you remember that one time that he did this and he was like all over the place? And then they go off on that rather than focusing on the good stuff that he's doing. You know what I mean? So it goes back to the reviews. Like people just like feed off of negativity for whatever reason, and I try to steer away from that. So
what's needed to start this type of business?
To start an insurance business?
Yeah.
God, a whole lot of patience. A whole lot of patience, and I think one of the main things is connections. Knowing where to reach out. Like if you had like a previous relationship, with somebody, at one of the companies that you're trying to work with, that's a big help. A lot of research is involved. It took me months to really research, and like I played around with different systems. I did like 3 or 4 different systems. I had a bunch of phone calls, doing demos and things like that with different companies, just trying to figure out what works best for my situation, for my company, and what my vision is, So I think that's like one of the main things too, is your vision is like the number one thing.
What's your vision?
My vision? Oh man, I have a lot of stuff. But my vision is just to basically have like an agency where people feel comfortable coming here. Like they know that they're going to get taken care of, and they know that, we're going to do right by them. You know what I mean? Like we're not going to, like, if there's a huge drop in their premium at their renewal, that we're not going to try to bridge that gap, like, And yeah, that does leave money on the table for us or whatever, but I don't ever want to leave room for people to say that I'm taking advantage of them. You know what I mean? Like and that's fair, because like at the end of the day, like I feel that when you're helping somebody else out, they're going to come back like and help you. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't do things to expect anything back, but I do it because it comes out of my heart. I do it because I want that type of treatment. You know, I want to.
That's what all the insurance girls say.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think so. They say it, but not all of them actually feel that way.
Mean it?
Yeah. And like for me, I mean, even like when the whole AB5 law was going on, people were increasing their prices. My prices stayed the same, and like I even was offering discounts. You know what I mean?
You were like kind of like sharing tips on little stuff that you found out along the way, keeping them informed.
Yeah, and that's my other thing too, is I love sharing information. So like a lot of people, they want to keep that information to themselves. You know, they're like, oh, but you got to pay me for that information. For what? It's public information. Anybody can do that research themselves if they wanted to. But if they don't have to, and they have somebody that they can reach out to that is already giving that information for free, like why not? You know what I mean? And like I said, to me, it doesn't bother me to give that information, because at the end of the day, yeah, if that person, you know, does all his permits or his, you know, whatever on his own, cool, better for him. You know what I mean? He's saving his money. I know that I had some sort of, como te diré, like, what's the word? Like some sort of like hand in that.
Like a role.
Yeah, like you had a role in that because, you know, you help them. And then sometimes like, they say, oh yeah, I could do this on my own. But then they realize like either they don't have the time, they don't have the energy, they don't have the patience for it, most importantly, you know, because you guys are always on the road.
Or the experience.
Yeah. And like some of the questions are very like confusing.
Yeah.
So you have to like sit there and read it and read it and read it again.
Yeah, you save money, but you might fuck up, and then, you know.
Yeah.
Do those mistakes cost money to fix? Like when you do something yourself and screw up as far as trucking paperwork and stuff?
It depends on what you're doing. So like, okay, so I might get a little bit of hate on this. So like on the safer updates, the MCS 150 updates. So those are free. Those, anybody can do those. As long as you have your PIN or whatever, you can do that stuff yourself.
There we go. Some insurance spots or service places, they like that PIN is like
it's gold.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, like
yeah.
If you request that PIN, it's like, oh, what you mean?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but it's easy to get, and like, and again, it goes back to, does the trucker have the time to do all of that? Do they have the know-how? Do they have the patience? And some of them don't, and that's okay. And the ones that do want to do it themselves, great, even better, because then you're taking full force of your own business. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's important. And but yeah, so like the things like that, like the MCS 150, you could do that for yourself for free. And then for us, like, we charge because it's our time that's being spent to do that for you. You know what I mean? So it's understandable that you're gonna, you know, somebody's gonna charge you to do it. You know what I mean? But it is free if you have the patience and the time. And then other things like, you know, the MCPs, the other permits and stuff like that. Some of those do cost because you have to, you know, do the updates and things like that. Or like if you like royally mess up, then you can get put out of service, or, you know, things like that. And then you have to pay for the reinstatement fees and all that stuff. So yeah, you got to be very careful with what you're doing.
And time management, like know the dates, right? Like when something's about to, there you go. So yeah, and truckers were always doing something. So like,
yeah, you guys are always busy. You guys are always like booking loads, or, you know, trying to get paid. Like, I know it sucks. I've heard horror stories about people trying to get paid. So yeah,
there's a lot of things going on in the industry. A lot of ways you can get screwed over.
Oh yeah,
if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
I have a question, insurance related.
What's up?
This one is it true that insurance history or experience can be transferred over to a new policy? For example, let's say I was leased on to a company and I had my own insurance. I did that, you know, a couple years. then I get my own authority, new venture. I'm still the same person, but someone asked, is there a way that you could request that history and show that to the new company?
So the only way that would really work is if everything is in your own company name. So, but typically, if not, because those are typically like those, I forgot what the actual word is off the top of my head, but it's like a bundled policy. It's like a master policy. I think that's what it's called, a master policy. But the individual owner operators aren't specifically listed, so it's not going to count. You can't bring that forward to your stuff. So everything, like on the insurance history, like everything has to be under your company name. So like, I don't know, Kontanteroz Trucking, whatever, right? So if you never had any type of insurance that specifically says Kontanteroz Trucking on there, or even Luis, your personal name, then you can't transfer that over. It doesn't count. You'd be considered new venture. So you'd get the new venture rates.
There's got to be a way to transfer that over regardless.
Yeah, I mean, ideally there should be. I'm sure there are some companies that'll take it into consideration, but not all of them will. I personally don't know of any companies that would actually take it into consideration. They'll just put it like as your experience. You know what I mean? So.
What issues do you see truckers having at the moment when it comes to searching for insurance coverage?
Man. Well, right now there's like a lot of new guys starting. So like the ones that they don't have enough experience. Like a lot of companies right now, they're looking for drivers who have the 3 years experience. And then they give the ones that have less than the 3 years, they give them a really tough time. And it's hard for them to get insured. And then when they do get insurance, it's really expensive. So like I always recommend everybody at least go, under somebody else, like a big company, especially their first year. Go under somebody else, get the experience,
maybe 5.
Yeah. So. And then but while you're getting the experience of driving, but also build those relationships so that when you do go off on your own, you already have the relationship with the broker. You know what I mean? Like you already have that access, so you're going to have work ready to go.
Yeah.
So and I always come up with like little game plans like that because lately I've been getting a lot of those where they're like straight out of trucking school and they're like, I want to go. And I'm like, dude, that's great. That's great that your mentality is already thinking that you want to go off on your own, you want to do your own thing, you want to make more money. That's cool. But realistically, like, it's going to be expensive, So unless you have those funds readily available, I suggest that they don't.
Well, your rates would have to match as well. Like, you don't want to be paying more to be rolling than you're making just for the sake of saying, like, I'm an owner up.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So that's why I always tell them, okay, this is roughly what you're looking at. And I mean, if you're okay paying that out and for a fact that you're going to be making like double or triple that amount every year, then go for it. Why not? It's all about the hustle. But
what are some scenarios that come to mind? Obviously, you're not going to disclose names, but I'm pretty sure you could come up with some numbers. Like, what's the craziest one you've seen? Like, for example, a guy with no experience. And he gave this much down and this much monthly. Or a guy with 2 years gave this much down and this much monthly. Like, which are the wildest numbers you've seen?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So, I had one where they had 2 years experience. Oh, okay. So there was 3. It was a 3-truck account. They had, the majority of the drivers had like 2 years experience, and then they had just one stinking driver that had like just under a year experience. So we had to place them with one of our it's not a risk retention group. It's like it's basically a company that'll take anybody and their mama as long as you're willing to pay.
Yeah.
And so the rate on that one was about $45,000 per truck. And only because of that one driver, because they were rating the new driver with the newest truck. So there was like a surcharge on that policy. And so it was just ridiculous. It wasn't worth it. You know what I mean? And I told him, I was like, you know what? Either you get rid of that driver. Like, do you really like need that driver? Do you really want that driver? Like, it's up to you. And if not, you know, then I could put you with somebody else. So
that's what they mean when they say, sorry, buddy, insurance wouldn't take you.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just because it comes down to price. You know what I mean? And I think that's the other part. The other sad part about it is a lot of people look into pricing versus the coverages. And I think the most important thing is the coverages.
Okay.
Because it doesn't make sense to pay, and I'm not saying that the $45,000 per truck was justified, because it wasn't. That was ridiculous rate. But I'm saying, like, a lot of people, they look more for, like, how cheap can they go on their thing, which is, again, understandable, because you want to make sure that you're profiting, right? At the end of the day, you want to make sure that more money is coming in than what's going out. And but a lot of them will kind of short you, like, on, I don't want to say that.
A lot of them will short you.
Yeah, like, they'll short you on coverages just to get you in, because they know that you're price shopping. And I always, when I have a client come to me, I'm like, okay, so what is it that you're looking to get out of this? You know what I mean? Like, do you want coverages or do you want price? Like, what's more important to you right now? And then they tell me, okay, pricing. Okay, fine. Let's find a company that's gonna give you a good rate, but also give you good coverages. You know what I mean? And then we can tweak it if we need to, depending on how comfortable you feel with that. And then at the end of the day, I mean, like, during the year, you can always add or remove stuff. You know, those are just endorsements. But like I said, most of the time they're all focused on the pricing. But what's the point of paying something, you know, so cheap, and then, you know, you get into an accident and you have no coverage? It doesn't make sense. So it's
expensive deductible. Yeah,
and like some people will put the really high deductibles. Like, I've seen like a you know, a $3,000 or $5,000 deductible, and it's like, well, do you have that kind of money to, like, just shell out, you know, in case of an accident? Most people don't. You know, and so it's hard. So
you need to adjust those.
Yeah, like, it keeps falling.
Maybe you have it too far back and it just wants to slip.
Okay.
Put it a little more tilted.
Is it like this?
Yeah. So next is like the RoboCop look. But what about 300 mile radius, 500 mile radius? What are the radiuses? Is that another way to cheat for a better price? Does that fluctuate the rates?
Yeah, so some companies do have those, like, the different tiers of the radiuses. And there's other companies that they do, like, 0 to, or, you know, 1 to, like, 500, and then 500 plus. Like, I have a client, actually, who's with, can I mention names? Not my client, but like the company, the insurance company. Okay. So Northland. So my goal is always to get everybody to Northland, right? Because the coverages that they give and, like, the way their tier system works is really good. But you have to qualify. You have to have, like, a minimum. I think right now they upped it to, like, 4 or 5 years. I don't remember off the top of my head. That you have to have in business. So this client of mine, he was with another insurance company that everybody knows this company or whatever. It's a big company. You see it on TV all the time. But anyway, so he was with them, and he was limited. I think he was limited to, like, 500 radius or something like that. And he couldn't do, I think, the UIIA or something like that. I forgot what it was exactly, the reason why he started to shop. But then he came to me, and we ended up finding him Northland. And so we opened up his radius to 48 states. And we added the UIIA endorsements. We added, like, a bunch of coverages, right? And we ended up getting him, like, we ended up saving him, like, $200, maybe $300 a month with more coverage.
Crazy.
Yeah, so it was great. I was that day when I saw that, I was like, yes, this is great, and so it was cool. Those are the things I love.
What if you have a shorter radius and you have an accident out of that radius? It's not going to cover nothing, or will they look into that?
Potentially. So, I mean, like, every claim is handled on its own merit. But, so, like, if they see that it was, like, a one-off, like, I think it just depends on the claims adjuster, too. So, and we don't deal with the claims or anything like that at the agency. But, yeah, so, like, I've seen where they do cover it because it was, like, a one-off type of situation. You know what I mean? Or it wasn't so far out of the distance. But I don't recommend it. People go outside of whatever radius was that they purchased for their insurance.
Okay. Do you get a lot of people that, like, when they buy the trucks, they need to have them insured before they pick them up? Is that, like, the process? Is that, like, the only way around it? Like,
yeah, you have to show some sort of proof of insurance. And I actually had an experience with that. Poor guy. Can I tell a story about that? So this guy, I don't remember the exact dates, but I think he purchased the truck in like March. So we like scrambled to get the insurance for him, and I told them, I've had experience where they allow us to provide proof of insurance just for the physical damage portion of it, and then we can work on the liability part of it later and the cargo, especially since you're not actually going to be using the truck yet. You know what I mean? So just the physical damage, just to, cover it in case anything happens while it's being transported to the location.
Is that something that if the driver doesn't know, he can get screwed somewhere else and have to pay more? That's the minimum that you can use to get it out of the dealer?
Typically. It just
no
depends
one tells you that, or is that standard?
So it just depends on the finance company.
Okay.
Because I always make sure that they ask, like, hey, is the finance company okay if we just give you the physical damage? And I always say that because the physical damage for our agency, we can get that right away.
Yeah, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Just to get it home.
Yeah.
And figure out the permits later.
Yeah, because you're not driving it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's being taken to your home. It's being transported to your home or to wherever.
Yeah, so some guys are getting like their own authority and everything, trying to get it all, like the whole package.
Yeah.
That's why their insurance is so high at first.
Yeah,
too.
and so what I always recommend is to start off with that if the finance company allows it. Sometimes what they'll tell you is like, yeah, we'll accept that just to get it off the lot. But then within a certain amount of time, we need to make sure that you have the liability, you have, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But again, you have to make sure that you have that communication and that approval from your finance company first.
Yeah. So back to your story. I'm sorry.
What was I saying?
The experience that this individual had with the truck and insurance.
Yeah. So he bought the truck in like March, and we like scrambled to get him the policy. They agreed to the physical damage and everything. Everything was cool. And then he didn't actually get his truck till like almost like a month and a half, almost 2 months later, because they just kept delaying it. And so he was paying on that insurance, but he didn't have the truck. So like I mean I felt bad for the guy, because it's like, well, the whole point of you getting the insurance was so that you can have it in your possession, and then whoever was supposed to deliver it just kept holding on to it or delaying it.
Yeah.
So but anyway, so we ended up finding him that, and then like during that time we were also working on his liability and his cargo, and it took a long time. Especially I think we started working on all his stuff in like January. And but because there was like a shortage of trucks, and like the dealerships were like giving everybody a hard time and stuff like that, so it just took a really long time for him to find a truck. And I've had a lot of clients come in like that too, saying, oh, I can't find a truck right now. But I think right now, like, because the prices are starting to drop a little bit, so it's helping out, and more trucks are being available. But
it's crazy. I wish the best for all those that bought like overpriced trucks, and now the rates are going back to pre-COVID, so kind of low, So that's gonna be tough to watch if it doesn't work out,
Yeah.
But so I see you do some like UIA and stuff to help them get into the ports. Like, what do you know about all that stuff? And like, in what order should it be done if you want to work in the ports with your own truck?
So the ports. So of course you need the insurance requirements have to be met, of course, first of all. So it's the 1 million liability, the 100,000 for cargo, the hired and non-owned auto, trailer interchange. It just the value on the trailer interchange just depends on what equipment providers you want to work with. So it could be like as low. I think the lowest that I saw on there was like 25,000. Some go up to like 65,000. But I always recommend everybody when they come to us to at least get the 50,000, because then you're kind of in the middle. And if you need to go up a little bit higher, you know, because you need to meet the $65,000 requirement, then it's not so much of a big jump for you. You know what I mean? Or if you decide that you don't need to work with any of those companies that that require the higher limits, then you can jump down and you save your money. You know what I mean? But at least if you start with the 50,000, you're kind of like in the middle, and it kind of works out. But then in addition to that, you need, so what did I say? I said the 1 million the 1 million liability, the 100,000 for cargo, hired and non-owned auto, the trailer interchange, the general liability, and then the additional insured endorsements. So you need all of those. And then on top of that, you need your UIIA participation agreement. And then that's an application that's done online. Again, anybody could do that. And then you just pay the fee or whatever, or you can have somebody like us to do it for you. And then there's other things like you'll also need your MC authority, SCAT code, and then and before this whole AB5 law thing was that people were able to use other people's permits to get into the ports. So like the trucker could use their broker's authorities to get in.
Yeah.
And that was the thing.
Legally.
Yeah, legally. Yeah. And now you really kind of can't. So now they're starting to require everybody to have their own MC.
Yeah, yeah. Own authority. Now they're starting to have to be more independent.
Yeah.
Like all the way. You can't be under someone, leased on. So that's going to be...
It's going to be a big mess.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It seems like...
I'm praying for everybody. I just want everybody to do good, so... Yeah,
truckers can't catch a break. You know, it's always something.
I know. And then to add to that, so you also need your concession agreements. What else?
Do you know the pricing on the concessions?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
Okay.
I think I seen ones like $2,500,
yeah,
and then plus like
familiar.
a bond or something like that, and then plus you have to pay like $250 for like the Long Beach and Los Angeles ports or something like that. And
create some logins at the terminals.
Yeah, you have to create logins. You have to get your TWIC card. Bunch of stuff.
SCAT code.
Yeah, SCAT code. The RFID or something like that.
Yeah, the RFID tag.
It's a bunch of stuff you guys have to get.
But it just seems hard at first. I think once you go through it, you're already in. After that, it's all... You got other shit to worry about now. Some last free day, the merge, and all that shit.
Oh, and then the drayage, what is it called? The
drayage, truck registry?
Yeah, the truck registry, the air resource board, all that stuff, too. You have to, like, I don't know, register.
Sounds like that service can be expensive.
It can be. Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, like if your agreements, your contracts are worth it, then why not?
How was it learning this? Like at the moment, how many companies have you set up?
Well, so
more or less.
I would say at least 20. So I haven't been in on my own for a very long time. So the trucking I started in January. So since January, I would say about 20 to 25. And then this week, we're starting on about 4 more. But it's like a weekly thing. Like we get like 2 to 3, sometimes more than that per week. And those take a long time. Yeah,
so you're getting the hang of it now, right?
Yeah.
So now you know more or less in what order those things should be done.
Correct. Yeah. So we have like a manual for our agency where we try to explain that to people because people think like, oh, you could get it all in one day. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to like start off with your company name first, get that approved by the state, and the state can take anywhere from like 3 to 5 business days to get that done. And then once you get the approval for that, then you get the EIN number. And then from there, that's when you can start requesting the DOT. The DOT can get done same day. And then after that, it's like the CA number. That one takes like 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how busy the particular division is, because you have to send that to the CHP. And then after that, it's like the MCP application, and then you just, you go from there. But it can be a process. It's a long process. It can last anywhere from like 30 to 45 days to get it all set up.
And on top of that, insurance.
Insurance. Yeah. So for us, like what we do is like during that time while we're working on your permits, we're also working on your insurance, so that the day that all your permits are able to become active, you already have your pricing, you're ready to go, you've already paid your down payment, and so that very same day you can get working, because now your authorities are all active. You don't have to wait, any more days after that.
What was the hardest part of this process, like learning all this?
Just the research, making sure that what you saw is correct, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, I've noticed. And what I do is if I find some information and it kind of seems a little sketch, I call whoever I need to call. So I call the CHP, I call the DMV, I call the FMCSA. I don't care. Like sometimes I'll tell them straight up, look, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I need your help. And they're really good about explaining to you what the process is. So that's what I did when I first started out, is just make a bunch of phone calls. So yeah.
What's your favorite part about doing this?
The interaction and being able to like help people. I know it sounds super lame, but I love it. I don't know what it is about it that like, it's just satisfying to know that you had a hand in setting up somebody's business. Like, because for me, like I've been in and out of different businesses, done so many things throughout my life. And it's just really satisfying to know that like, you helped somebody else do the same, you know what I mean? And that they're off to a good start. And I don't know, it's just fun, like getting that interaction, hearing people's stories, and just like getting to know them, because a lot of my clients have become my friends. They're they message me like on the days that I don't post anything. They're like, where you at? What's wrong with you? And I'm just like, God, I'm taking a break, relax. Like, but yeah, it's really satisfying.
If not in this business, what would you be doing?
I don't know, because I didn't even think that I'd ever even be in the trucking industry at all. I don't know. Because before this, what I was doing was I was a makeup artist. So probably doing that. Yeah. I did, back then I was doing, I did a couple.
Marinello?
No, I went to an agency in Chino Hills. So it was, they did a lot of like celebrity makeup. So I did a couple shows on Telemundo. I did, what's it called? A couple fashion shows, like the high-end fashion shows. So it was pretty cool. I kind of miss it sometimes, but I knew I had to let that industry go. But, things happen. And but yeah, so if I weren't doing this, I'd probably be doing that again, because it's the interaction with the people.
Yeah. So did we go over where you saw yourself in 5 years?
We haven't gone over that yet.
I thought we did a little bit about the vision. No? The vision didn't tap into this?
I don't remember.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, and I see myself with a bunch of employees, helping out a bunch of truckers, getting their own authorities, and then I want to open up a yard.
A yard?
A yard,
okay.
A truck yard.
Okay.
And then on that truck yard, man.
Like a truck stop?
No, like just a yard, like so they could park their trucks and they know their stuff is like safe. But I want to have like everything there, like the insurance, the DMV services. I want to have like the drug testing, so like the consortium.
Yeah.
Everything, and like they can even get like maybe even have like a little store there so they can like get their supplies and things like that. I also want to have like a mechanic there, like a diesel mechanic there.
Okay.
So yeah, and I have my eye on a location already, but
All right.
and I'm already in a conversation with somebody in Texas because I want to expand. I do permits and insurance in Texas too, but I want to open up a location out there. So that's where we're headed, and then get some more states under our belt. We're looking at Nevada and Arizona next.
Texas, like, how does that work? You chose Texas, or is that where you got an additional license or something, or how does it work?
Yeah, so in order for our agency to be able to operate in Texas, we have to pay a fee to get an additional license. So I have to pay, basically it's like a double license. So it's for myself personally, and then for my agency. And then whoever else is underneath me has to get their
So long as yours is good, then you could expand, but it's going to cost you per state.
Yeah, so it does. So and the reason why Nevada and Arizona are next is because I do get a lot of requests for those states. And that's the reason why I actually expanded to Texas because I had a couple clients requesting it. And I'm just like, I don't know anybody in Texas, you know? Actually, I do.
But you can work from here.
Yeah, I work from here.
And do it.
And I do it over there. As long as my the insurance companies that I work with offer coverage in Texas, then I could do that. Or I could just look for another insurance company that does offer in those states. Yeah. So I take requests. If it's lucrative, I'll do it.
Let her know, guys. Any crazy customer stories? Like maybe like a jealous girlfriend, or prank calls to the office, or a bad client.
Bad client? I haven't had any bad clients.
Crazy client?
No, but at a previous agency, I had to talk somebody down out of...
I can't hear you.
Oh, shoot, you can't hear me? I'm sorry. So at the previous agency, I had to talk somebody out of suicide.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, and I hope he's doing okay. I don't know if you're watching, but I hope he's doing okay. Yeah, he was just going through a really rough patch in his life, divorce, just a bunch of stuff going on. And he told me, like, his court date and everything, that he had to go for the divorce. And he was like, I'm just going to shut down my operations because she's going to take everything. And it's not worth it for me, and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, dude, just keep going, I just kind of let him vent or whatever. And just kind of gave him a little motivational type of thing, just don't give up, because it's going to get better at the end of the day. Like, just, you have your kids, you have things to look forward to, and, if it's not this, then you're going to move on to something else. And, so I remember, because I was doing his renewal, so I remember I wrote down the date that he told me, and I still remember the date. It's been a couple of years since then, and it's actually coming up soon. So I wrote down the date. Yeah, I wrote down the date on the top of his renewal paper, and I couldn't get a hold of him for like a couple of days. And so I was like, oh, shoot, And then so the date of his court hearing or whatever it was, I called him that morning, and he wouldn't answer. I was like, oh my God, because I remember he mentioned something that he was thinking of ending it that day. So I was like, oh my God, please don't, please pick up. And so I left him a voicemail, and he called me back later, and he was like, I didn't do it because you called me. I didn't think anybody cared. And he's like, you called me on the very day that I was going to do it. And he's like, and so...
that was like his sign. Like,
yeah, because sometimes all you really need is to have somebody show that you care. You know what I mean? And I don't know what might have resonated with him, or what about him resonated to me. You know what I mean? That it caught my attention, that I was like, no, for whatever reason, I got to stay on this guy, And he was like, yeah, I'm glad that you called me, because I was just going to be done today. Like the minute of the appointment, that's when I was going to do it. I was like, oh my God, And I remember after that, he called, and he kept going with the business. He actually added another truck. So his business grew, you know? So I was just like, oh my God, like, I don't know. And I think I brought that with me to my agency, like that feeling, you know what I mean? Like to be able to make a difference in somebody's life with even just like the smallest, like even a smile. And I think I get that from my dad, because my dad's always like smiling at everybody. You know, he doesn't know anybody in the room, but he'll smile at you. He'll say hi to you. He'll talk up a storm with you, you know? And so I kind of take that with me everywhere I go. Yeah.
That was a good story.
It was crazy. Oh, my God. I still get chills. And I told my employee about that one, too. I told Ruth, I was like, dude, like, that was like one of the craziest calls I've ever gotten, you know? And then what else?
You've never known anyone in your life that actually did it?
Committed suicide?
Yeah.
No.
No. Yeah.
Not that I know of, like, personally or anything like that. I've heard stories, like, of people, like, así muy lejanos, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but nobody, like, super close to me.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
they say it's more common than we know. That's what they say. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
In the U.S. Like, well, worldwide, but I mean, yeah.
A lot of people don't talk about it. It's one of those things that's like kind of taboo. It's like, well, you know, just cheer up. Well, it's not that easy, you know, for people to just.
Yeah, it's like when it's in your head, it's in your head.
Yeah.
And no one can convince the person. But, well, I'm glad you were there for that person, and I hope he's doing great.
Yeah.
And now, because I read something a long time ago, I think it's one of those, I don't know if Jehovah's Witness or something, they take those pamphlets everywhere, like those little, there's like little, not a magazine, but they just hand them out, you know?
Yeah.
I think it was one of those type of publications. And it just showed a quick little story about a man that committed suicide. But then he comes back to kind of like a ghost, in ghost form with Jesus, right?
Okay.
And he's like, look at that. Like, you see that? And then it shows him and his wife and a beautiful daughter.
So he's looking at
they're
himself.
having fun. And it turned out he's looking at himself in his future self that he never got to live because he gave up and killed himself before he even knew it was coming. So he's like, that would have been you if you didn't do it. Like, something like that. Maybe I fucked the story up, but you get the point.
Yeah, we get the point. But like, and that I think that goes too with like people giving up in their business. You know, like you're so close. Like the way I see it is the moment that you feel like you need to give up, that's when you need to push harder. Because and there's a saying that says like success is just around the corner, and I believe that wholeheartedly, because I feel like when you're so down and you're like hard on yourself in your business or anything that you're trying to accomplish in your life, like you start shutting down. You start like giving up on little things that you love, things that you enjoy, and like because it gets hard, you know. In any industry, any business, it's gonna get hard before it gets better, you know. But people like, they want instant satisfaction. They want to make the money right away, and it's like, well, it doesn't work like that. You have to like, you know, pay your dues. You have to, you know, like the first couple of years you're gonna struggle, but I think at the end of the day, the satisfaction comes from knowing the struggle that you went through the first couple of years, and then, you know, if you were able to get past that point, then now you're able to reap those benefits. You know what I mean? And you're now creating a legacy for your family, for your kids, for your grandkids, you know what I mean? And you're breaking those generational curses. Because a lot of people it's just easier to give up. You know what I mean? But it's like, okay, so then all that work that you did, all that research, all that money, all that time, all those sleepless nights, just so you can give up because you had one bad day. You know what I mean? Like, just keep going, because at the end of the day, like after you get past that storm, you're gonna see this bright future ahead of you.
Yeah.
You know, so I always try to see the positive in everything. So it helps me out too.
Now booking appointments for motivational speaking near
Yes.
you.
It's another service we're gonna start offering.
Yeah. What would you tell 18-year-old Anais?
stop being so damn scared. Just do it. Because I feel like a lot of the stuff that I didn't do was because of fear. Okay. And I feel like that stops a lot of us from doing anything, is fear. Like, oh, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? And, you know, like, oh, what is my family going to think of this? What is my spouse going to think of? What are my kids going to think of it? You know, like, who cares? If it's something that you feel passionate about, something that you, that's in your head, it was a vision that was given to you for a reason. And if other people don't understand it, it's because the vision wasn't theirs in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, so it's up to you to see that vision out and to kind of like put it into action. But like that fear, I feel like it stops a lot of us from doing any of that. And because that happened to me, like, you know, I had all these other businesses and I was like, oh no, like, well, what if this happens and I'm not gonna be able to do this? And, you know, it's getting hard, you know, like, what am I gonna do when this happens? And so like, you start getting anxiety, you know, you start like overthinking things instead of just kind of letting it naturally happen.
Yeah, you imagine all these endings, these scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't even happen. Like,
yeah. Like for me, like, so I started doing videos, right? So like those Instagram reels or whatever. God, I was so scared.
The stories or the reels?
The reels.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't want to do this. I feel stupid doing them. Like, people are going to look at me weird. Like, nobody's going to like the reels or whatever. And I don't know, but something told me just do them. Who cares, you know? If you mess up and you try again. And so from there, that's kind of where I started losing the fear.
What made you lose the fear? The repetition or maybe like the feedback?
I think a little bit of both. Like, I think the repetition is like, and the consistency is the main part of it. But then once I started seeing the feedback, like people are actually enjoying my reels, because the reels, most of them that I do, I try not to do them about insurance. I try to make them something that's like more fun and like, you know, like I'll occasionally throw in something that has to do with insurance or permits or just kind of like friendly reminders of like what's next, you know.
So you don't overthink it, like, oh, is this a personal account or is it business? Like,
yeah.
You just do whatever.
I just do whatever I feel.
Yeah.
Whatever I want to do that day.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck it, whatever, you know. Yeah, so, and then like I was saying, like I started getting the feedback. Like I had a client call me. He's like, you know what? God, I'm glad you're doing these reels. I'm like, why? He's like, 'cause you were so boring when you started out. I'm like, what do you mean I'm boring? You were always just talking about insurance. And I'm like, God, you're right, you know? And yeah, that gets annoying. Like nobody wants to just hear about business all day or insurance or whatever. Like you want to have fun.
Yeah, or throw your own little twist in it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but once you have the insurance, then you're good. You don't want to hear about it anymore.
Yeah, right? No, and it's just more like, you know, people deal with stuff all day, like the stress, like the daily stress of like having to figure stuff out. And like, you know, and my account is obviously like more geared towards truckers. So, and the trucking insurance and things like that. So we talk about it a lot, right?
Ask her a question.
Oh, yeah. I have my questions of the weeks or whatever, and I get crazy questions. Sometimes I'm like, I can't post that. Like, and I don't even want to respond to that person personally either because they get the wrong idea. And so, yeah, they get, so ponen bien, what's the word? Fresh. Is that the word?
Does that come with like working around men a lot? Because the majority are men. Has anyone ever crossed the line, like been disrespectful, or how do you avoid like those interactions? You know.
So yeah, so there, you know, I guess it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
But sometimes it depends on what it is. So sometimes I'll ignore it. And then other times I'll tell them straight up, like, dude, that was disrespectful. This is my business account. Like, and even if it was my personal account, you have no right.
I was about to say,
you know what I mean?
Send that to my personal.
But like, even if it was my personal account, you have no right to talk to me that way. You know what I mean? And you know, like, and then I have like my friends that like we talk, whatever, and they joke, and I know they're joking. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, like how they say that there's always a little bit of truth in a joke.
De broma y broma.
Yeah.
La verdad se asoma.
Something like that, yeah. But at the same time, like, we know our limits. You know what I mean? Like, because they're my friends or whatever. And but the ones that I'm just like, who the hell are you? Where the hell did you even come from? Like, because what I do is, anytime somebody follows me, I go back. I trace back like where they came from, like, you know, who we have as mutual people, and I don't know. I'd like to see like how they found me or whatever, and I even when they call into the office, I always ask them, how did you guys find me? You know, like,
who are you?
Yeah, and I'm like, it's just because for me, it's more of a thing where like I know where to focus my attention to. You know what I mean? So if I know that they're coming from Containeroz, like, I'm going to be like, okay, Luis, come on, let's do something else. You know, let's partner up somehow. You know what I mean? To make that stronger. You know, or if it's coming from Instagram, okay, I need to put money into Instagram ads, like, you know what I mean? Because I know that that's what's working for me right now. Yeah. So. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we are out of time. Anything you'd like to add before we call it a wrap?
Just what's the word? Just don't give up. That's my thing right now. Don't give up. Keep going. So anybody that's struggling right now, just keep going. It's gonna get better. It's gonna be easier. It's gonna be worth it at the end of the day, and you're gonna be happy that you kept going and you didn't give up. And when in doubt, call us, Anais with Danais Insurance Services.
And like Crip Mac says, don't commit suicide.
Yes.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Thank you. Bye.